You're still working in your 60s and everyone keeps asking you, when are you going to retire? Your coworkers just left at 62, your neighbor's already traveling the world, and you're sitting there wondering if you are behind or if you're making a mistake, or maybe you actually know something that they don't. Well, here's the truth that nobody talks about. Working in your 60s might be the single smartest financial decision that you can make, but only if you do it right. And most people are doing it completely wrong. And I want to show you exactly how to do it right because the people who get this wrong do not realize it until it's too late to fix. Hi, I'm Chris Sagan, a certified financial planner at Puzzle Wealth, and I've sat across from enough people in their 60s to know that the difference between a great retirement and a stressful one almost never comes down to how hard somebody has worked. It comes down to what they did with the years right before they stopped. So let me start with something most people completely miss. When you are still earning income in your 60s, you have options that vanish the second you stop working. And I mean vanish overnight. Delaying Social Security can increase your future benefit by approximately 8% a year beyond full retirement age up to age 70, subject to program rules. That increase is unique because it comes from the Social Security benefit formula rather than investment performance. You can do Roth conversions at a pace that actually makes sense because you're not draining your portfolio to pay the bills. You can let your investments compound completely untouched during what might be the most valuable growth decade of your entire financial life. And the contribution limits right now are aggressive. In 2026, if you're 50 or older, you can put up to $32,500 into a 401k. But here's what most people are missing. If you're between 60 and 63, there's an enhanced catch up that lets you contribute up to $35,750 total. Plus, you get to keep your employer health insurance and skip the brutal expense of bridging to Medicare. That is not a paycheck. That is a financial planning laboratory. Here's one of the biggest concerns I see people approaching retirement. Most people working in their 60s are sitting inside that laboratory and not running a single experiment. Social Security timing decided on a whim. Tax strategy non-existent. Retirement accounts growing in whatever direction they happened to point at years ago. They're not making decisions, they're just waiting. Depending on your situation, delaying key planning decisions can have a meaningful, long-term financial impact. Not a rounding error. Life-changing money left on the table. If you're realizing right now that you might be one of those people, you're not alone, and it is absolutely fixable. That is exactly what I do with clients at Puzzled. If you want to see what a personalized strategy looks like for your specific situation, there's a link in the description to book a time with me directly. Now, let me tell you about the mistake that I see derail people who are actually trying to be smart about this, is staying in a job you hate for just the benefits. And I completely understand the logic. Health insurance before 65 is expensive. Losing employer coverage feels terrifying. But here's what the actual data shows. A significant portion of workers end up retiring earlier than planned anyways, because of health issues, layoffs, or caregiver responsibilities, to name a few. You might not get to choose when you stop working. So the question is not whether you can hold on. The question is whether your plan gives you options if you can't. I had a client, we'll call him David, 63 years old. Miserable in his corporate job. Every Monday felt like a prison sentence to him. He had convinced himself he just had to survive 2 more years until Medicare kicked in. That was the whole plan. Just survive. When we actually sat down and ran his numbers, we found something he never expected. In his situation, after evaluating his options, he determined he could retire earlier than he initially expected. The health insurance he was grinding through years of misery to keep, he didn't need it the way he thought he did. That's 18 months of his life he almost traded away for an assumption he never actually checked out. Do not make decisions about your freedom based on numbers you've never actually run. Now, here's the mistake that quietly costs people the most, and almost nobody talks about it because it does not feel like a mistake when it's actually happening. I call it a lifestyle inflation trap, and it feels like a reward. The kids are off the payroll. The house might be paid off. That income that used to feel stretched suddenly feels like breathing room. So you upgrade a little. Nicer vacation, a new car because you've earned it, maybe you help the kids with a down payment, whatever your cup of tea. None of it feels reckless at the time. All of it's going to feel deserved. But here's what's actually happening underneath the surface. Every dollar you add to your annual spending in your 60s becomes a dollar you have to replace from your portfolio forever. And the math is just brutal. Add just $10,000 a year in new spending, and at a 4% withdrawal rate, you now need an additional $250,000 saved to support that. Not this year, every year for the rest of your life. That one car, that one vacation habit, that one bump in your lifestyle, you might be paying for it for 30 years out of your retirement savings. The clients I've seen retire with most confidence do the opposite. They keep their lifestyle flat in the final working years and funnel every dollar that they can into their retirement accounts. The Roth conversions, the cash reserves. They do not arrive at retirement hoping things work out. They arrive with so much runway that it almost does not matter when they stop. That's what intentional looks like. So how do you actually build that? Here's the framework I walk every client through. First, run your real numbers, not a ballpark, not what your coworker told you at lunch, your actual Social Security projections at different claiming ages, your actual tax picture under different retirement timing scenarios, your actual healthcare costs before and after 65. I've seen clients discover meaningful differences between their assumptions and the numbers that emerged from our detailed analysis. The numbers are often different from what people expect. Second, you define your enough number, not what some generic retirement calculator spits out. What does your specific life actually cost you? What do you want it to cost you? Some people genuinely need $8,000 a month. Some may need 15, but you cannot build a plan around a number you've never named. Most people skip this step entirely, and then they wonder why retirement feels abstract and far away. Name the number. Everything else gets sharper the moment you do. Third, you work backward from it. Once you know what you need and know what Social Security, pensions, and other incomes will cover, you can calculate exactly what your portfolio needs to be on the day you retire. And then this is the part people are usually surprised by. You can figure out whether you need to work 2 more years, 5 more years, or whether you can actually leave sooner than you ever thought possible. I've had that conversation more times than I can count. The answer is almost never what someone assumed going in. Here's the bottom line. Working in your 60s is not a consolation prize. It is one of the most powerful planning windows of your entire financial life, and most people let it slip by on autopilot. Your paycheck matters, what that window and that paycheck gives you. These years will either work for you or they will just pass. The strategy is the difference. If you want to sit down and map out exactly how to turn your working years into the strongest possible retirement launch, the link to book a time with me is in the description below. Go make it count, see you in the next video, and hit subscribe and like to see more content from me. Thank you.